Hey guys, I'm making this video because I couldn't find one myself, but this is how to replace the driver's side engine bracket. This is a 2000 Monte Carlo, but this will work on most GM 3800 vehicles. This is the second time I've had to replace this. I think it's because I went with these solid mounts. I'm not too sure though. The other side is durable, off of Amazon, I think. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is take off the bracket side that broke off. You take this off by using two 15 ratchets, two 15mm sockets on ratchets. Now that you have the broken pieces off, you're gonna do the same thing to these bolts, which are also 15mm. There are 3 bolts that hold this piece in. The one you can see right there. Another one is, this will focus right there. And then the final one is really hard to get to. It's behind the coolant level sensor back there. I'm gonna start with this one in the front because you can slide a 15 in there pretty easily on a ratchet and get a tiny angle right here. After you got this first bolt out, the second bolt's a little bit trickier, but I'm using a short socket 15 with a little bit of an extension, and I got it to hook a tiny bit onto here. It didn't hook all the way, but if you're stable with it, then you shouldn't round the bolt. Just to make this a lot easier, I'm gonna take off this coolant hose, which is just a flathead, to make sure that coolant doesn't flow out too much. A little bit will drip, but you can put it behind this support bar and it should hold it up at an angle to where it won't flow all the way out. Now that your coolant hose is out of the way, it should be way easier to get to this bolt. You're gonna have to take out your coolant temp sensor, so I also disconnected that just to make it easier. All you do is press down on this tab. This is probably not recommended, but I'm gonna use a normal socket to get off the coolant temp sensor. I found it is a 19mm. You can't get this bolt, the second bolt, out all the way because it doesn't have enough clearance with your headers. So I'm gonna leave that in, and hopefully I can slide the whole piece off at once and pull it out. I'm gonna set my phone up like this to try to give y'all a better view also. Finally got the coolant level sensor cracked, or temp sensor. I had to go at it under here with the 19 and then come at it under everything else, under this wiring harness and everything, with a small ratchet just to get it cracked. And I couldn't even fit the ratchet on there all the way. I had to make it work. Finally got the coolant temp sensor out. That was a pain in the ass, but now you should have way more clearance to get to that back bolt. This last bolt's actually a little trickier than I thought. You're gonna have to get a socket on there, then use an extension to go down under the headers. Diesel truck. And then put your ratchet on there, just barely clearing the transmission, and I'll show you. Hopefully I can set this up correctly. If you hold it on the bolt just correctly, you should be able to crank her loose. Now that you've got the third bolt out, you can take out any bolt you have holding it on and pull it right off. Just like that. Here's the one I just took out. Here are the pieces that broke off of it. And this is the one I'm about to put on, brand new. The process of putting on the new one is pretty much reverse of everything you did before. Starting off by putting on that back bolt first with the extension behind here, and just small rotations. I couldn't find a torque spec on these, so I just tightened them down to like a feel around 20-30 pounds, foot-pounds. These are pretty big bolts and they go right into the block, so I feel like it don't have that much pressure on them, and especially with barely having any clearance to get to that last bolt, I just couldn't put much pressure on that last one. But now, right after putting the bolts in, I'm gonna go back and put this coolant temp sensor back in. Same thing with the coolant temp sensor. I just hand tightened it in there as much as I possibly could, and then you can go ahead and tighten up the rest of your bolts. Again, I only put those bolts to around 30, maybe 40 foot-pounds on these side ones. Next thing you're gonna do is hook back up your coolant hose and get ready to put back on your dog bone. Once your coolant line's back on there nice and tight, you can go ahead and reassemble the dog bone. I think the last time I changed these, I tightened these bolts too much, these top ones, and I think that's what caused the sides to crack. So this time I'm just going to snug the top ones and really pressure down the bottom ones and see how that goes. Now that I have that dog bone back on, and as you can see the new mount in, the engine does not move whatsoever. You did lose some coolant as you pulled off your hose and took out your temp sensor, so you're going to want to top off your reservoir again and possibly bleed the system if you have to by just cracking the radiator and letting it idle for a few minutes. As you can see, she's running good. You might have a little smoke coming from the engine for a few minutes just because there's some coolant down there, but it should be good after a little bit. And that's how you replace a 3800 driver's side engine bracket. If you liked this video, like, comment, subscribe for more, and I'll get back to you with more 3800 videos soon.